actions that you saw? Some cried, some didn't.
No, they all cried.
They all cried.
Yeah.
Did you know that babies, like I told you earlier, babies undergoing circumcision, their heart rates and their blood plasma cortisol levels go. Yes. Why do you think it's okay to put an infant through?
Are you taking a picture of me?
Why do you think it's okay to put an infant through such pain and trauma under the name of God? Why do you think that's okay?
Because you don't know how much pain and trauma it is.
Yes, we do, because we've studied babies undergoing circumcision in the 1980s. They did exhaustive studies. They actually stopped the studies halfway through because the babies were going through so much pain. They were like, okay, this is inhumane. We have to stop this.
But how do you measure pain in someone who can't communicate? How?
You don't have a penis either.
You know what? Because
they know they go through
pain because they hook babies up to brainwave scans to measure their pain.
You cannot measure pain from brainwave scans.
They hook the babies up to heart rate monitors, blood plasma cortisol levels, which are the body's indicators for stress. And I quote the American Medical Association, there is no doubt that babies undergoing circumcision undergo pain, severe and persistent pain. Unanesthetized newborns cry vigorously, tremble, and occasionally become mildly cyanotic from prolonged crying. Verbatim, that is the statement of the American Medical Association.
So you're arguing
that
the way it's done is improper, not?
No, the fact that you're cutting healthy erogenous tissue off of someone's body without their consent is wrong.
So why do you keep coming back to the pain? If it's about pain, it's about how it's done, not that it is done.
Pain is one of the many wrong things of circumcision. Pain is a complication with every circumcision. Every circumcision is painful. Even when the baby...
Not if it's properly anesthetized.
You cannot actually give general anesthesia to a baby because they'll die. You can't put them to sleep. So there is, because babies can't talk, there's no way to understand
how much pain
that the pain has been fully relieved. But there's
no way to understand how.
Did you know that in circumcisions in the U.S., there's no law that they have to anesthetize them, and only about half of them receive any sort of pain relief.
But you see, all those are not arguments to ban it. All those are.
Would you do it to a girl? Would you do it to a girl?
Yes, I would cut off the penis's foreskin of a girl.
The clitoris's foreskin of a girl, you mean?
I mean the penis's foreskin.
You apparently don't know anything about female don't touch me, though, by the way.
I was not going to touch you.
You apparently don't know anything about female circumcision,
you're recording me. Is that what you're doing?
You don't know anything about female circumcision?
I know of it. We are not discussing that right now.
Why not? Human genital mutilation.
Why not?
Because
we're against
circumcision, cruelty to boys. I wanted to discuss that.
There's a federal... Yeah, well, it's also cruelty to girls.
But that's not what your signs say.
Because in our country...
We're trying to get you to understand an essential point, which you apparently either are not following or you're deliberately misconstruing the argument. I'm asking you, theoretically, do you believe that it should be a federal crime for people to cut off the clitoral hood, the equivalent of the foreskin, off their daughters in the United States? That is a federal crime. Do you believe that's an incorrect law?
Federal crime?
It's a federal crime.
It is a federal crime since 1996.
I do not have enough information to make a judgment on that right now.
Well, then you haven't researched the issue. So I
haven't researched the issue of female genital...
No, if you haven't researched female circumcision, sir, you don't know anything about male circumcision.
What? That doesn't...
We would like to see the female genital mutilation bill changed to be the human genital mutilation bill. No one tampers with the genitals of any child unless there's a medical necessity.
That's not what your signs say.
Look, we're telling you what our signs say. Don't tell us what you think our signs. We're telling you what our signs say.
Okay, if I have a different interpretation of what your signs say than you have interpretation, that means that your signs are conveying the wrong message.
The message is genital surgery on any unwilling baby, and they're all unwilling, without medical cause, is illegal, unethical, and criminal. That's it. Sex makes no difference. There are people right now in the world who are cutting the genitals off of baby girls, and it's a much less severe operation than what we're doing to baby boys in the United States.
Okay. So, It seems to me that your signs should say.
No. Don't talk about our signs. We're talking about you and what you think. Stop it with our signs.
Yes.
You're misdirecting the conversation, sir.
We are talking about what I think, and what I think is very much influence about what your signs say to me.
Stop it with that. That's misdirection. You're deliberately taking the signs and trying to narrow it down to what you are literally saying the signs say.
No.
We are talking about genital surgery.
What I'm trying to do is base what I believe your opinions are based on what you are showing to me, your signs. I'm trying to take an aspect of your argument and find out.
You're hearing the argument from our lips.
Please let me finish, okay?
You're back on the signs.
Please, I'm trying to describe to you what I want to do. Please let me finish, okay? I'm trying to take what I believe your argument is and find a specific aspect of that and discuss it with you.
Okay, you did not respond. You did not respond to my request that you say, do you believe that it should be, as it is currently a federal crime to cut the genitals of girls? Do you believe that's a correct law or not?
And I am saying I do not have enough.
Well, then we can't have an informed conversation with you. There's no way.
Yeah. You can't have an informed conversation with me.
No, you haven't done any research.
Because
you haven't done any research.
I do not want to talk on a different aspect of your opinion.
No, it's not a different.
Cutting the genitals of a non-consenting child, male or female, is wrong. I know tons of men who wish they had not been circumcised. I know tons of men who wish they had not been circumcised.
Tons of men who are glad they were.
Because they've probably been told their penises have been improved. It does not reduce infection.
I know some men who wish they were. I know some men who wish.
Because they've been told lies. They've been brainwashed by the American public.
No, because they were raised by hippie parents and wanted to connect to their Jewish identity.
There's no reason for circumcision.
So you're coming from a religious point of view.
I've always been coming from a religious point of view.
Oh well, then that's a whole different thing.
That's what you wouldn't let me. You wouldn't let me talk.
He's saying that we are not respecting people's religious beliefs by saying that Jews should not be allowed to force circumcision on their children. I told him that based on the fact that circumcision was not originally part of Judaism, it is an evolved, adopted practice that has changed. That's a fact. And
hold on.
And hold on.
No, you just told me it was a fact. Please cite your sources.
Okay, I will give me.